Alright, welcome back to The Adolescence of a Bookworm, anime review, episode number 17. Yes, this was another anime that I actually did watch that I basically bench watched last year, and now we got a fresh new season. And here's the thing, first new anime for the show since 2022. Yeah, I think because which studio got the license. Now, I did not know exactly the reason why. It wasn't one of my commenters people who did comment on my video of this one. The reason why it switched studios because the original studio apparently couldn't afford it anymore. Yep, because the fact that the show was getting so big, they decided to switch studios. And apparently, this show, along with the light novel series, apparently won like every single award under the sun related to it. Now, of course, this episode roughly came out 2 weeks ago. I was waiting for the dub, and here's the thing. I kind of predicted it would come out today, and I was right about that. Yeah. And so, the name of this episode is I've Become a Noble, the 37-episode series, covering roughly around the first 4 chapters of volume. Well, basically, it's the first part of volume 3 of the light novel series for Alice Bookworm. If you're curious, what volume is this one? Volume 8. Yep, we're on volume 8 for the series. Yeah, by actual internal numbering, this is volume 8. So, basically, after a slight recap from the last season, thank you for the studio to recap, not to really ignore it here per se. So, they do make one major cut here, and I'm kind of glad they cut this up because this would have been so awkward. So, basically, we have Ferdinand, Rosemine, formerly Mine, she switched names because of the events that closed out of the previous season's show, and Karsdad. So, he basically, now, there's a slight alteration here. Now, the thing they cut out here, there was a scene that opened up the book where Ferdinand had to almost strip down Rosemine to conduct a medical examination of her. The anime cut that out because I felt uncomfortable reading that scene because it's almost like they're like stripping a child just to do a medical examination. Now, the thing is, Ferdinand, I don't know if he is an actual trained doctor, but forcing a girl like this to take off her clothes to do this, like, it just felt a bit iffy. And thank you for cutting this out. So, basically learned about customs of nobility. I'm guessing they must have had this conducted off screen because there's no mention in the anime. Thank you for that. So, have the referred to Kaz as father, of course, and then they arrive. Then we're introduced to several new characters. And the first character we're introduced is, I kid you not, Kirstad's wife and eldest son, Cornelius. Yeah. Now, I have not come across, basically, who is the voice of these characters. Let's see if I can find him here. Here we go. So, Karstad's wife. Let's see. Who is the voice of his wife? Alva, that's the name. She made her debut this episode. Okay, here we go. She is voiced by when the thing comes up here. Yeah, because... Okay, here we go. Yeah, they don't credit her voice actor. Yeah, they don't. So, not the only introduced here. They introduced several other characters in the book. So, Cornelius is introduced here too. And we're introduced to a few new nobles. One of the nobles in a later scene, when they have Rosemine's baptism, I thought I heard Clifford Champton voicing one of the characters. Yes. So, Then, of course, Rosemary introduced herself, and of course, Elvira introduced herself, and Elvira and Cornelius introduced themselves to, of course, Rosemary, and of course, Rosemary gives him a blessing, which of course he accepts, and of course, give her permission to call her mother, and basically, Elvin, basically, her task is to teach Rosemary the etiquette of nobility. That's pretty much her job. And we kind of see it in the episode. We also see her learning the names of the various nobles in the area. And Ferdinand basically promising her that if she does basically memorize the names, he will give access to the cathedral library without his permission. And he tries, of course, Cornelius at the little break. And then she collapses. One of 2 times she collapses in the episode. Now, of course, Ferdinand did know about this. No one else did. Of course, she does a little later on. We'll get to that. So, then, of course, basically after recovering, then she, of course, goes this little more etiquette, of course. And yeah, so after this etiquette training, so we're also introduced to, she meets him in this episode, sees him again, because of course that she had known him previously with the whole Chernobyl, the incident from the previous season of the show. We have Eckhart and Lyra, basically siblings, which they kind of knew each other, but she kind of denied the fact that she knew them. So they remembered her. But of course, before her ceremony, she's given basically a hairpiece, which of course she cries because this is the very same hairpiece that her family she had to force to cut ties to made, and Ferdinand calmed her down enough basically so she could attend the ceremony no problem. And then of course basically so apparently it's shown that Elvia, basically her personal cook, I think she does keep her because she retains her. She isn't speaking in the episode, but it's the same character in Knickerbocker voice in the previous 2 seasons of the show, which good on them for remembering the fact that she retained her, because in the actual book itself, it was just like it was brought up the fact that she just plucked her out of the orphanage. Here, it's just she's here. So, right, the cookies, so Elvira is a big fan of Ferdinand. That's where the whole thing with the memorizing comes in. And after all this, then we have the ceremony, goes up without a problem. Where basically, now, of course, also she has a little listening thing, which is basically something that even sometimes I basically go through occasionally. I may basically often space someplace, and it happens to everybody. So I'm kind of guilty of that. Basically, if I hear my name, it just might take a response. I'm usually thinking about something else, or something, and then they get my attention. It happens to people, so then has Ralph, of course, wears the head thing. Of course, everybody basically sees her and brings up the cover story, the fact that she was Sylvester's daughter, who basically was kept in an orphanage, and she did not know about her noble upbringing, and basically Sylvester's basically just spouting out this cover story. Now, the only people who know the fact this cover story is a lie is Ferdinand, Sylvester, Karstedt, and of course Rosemary herself. These 4 are the only ones who know that this is just a cover story. The cover for Ferdinand's dick of an uncle trying to have another noble kidnap her. Yes. So, also the fact that it is brought up here, before I continue the scene here, so outside the cathedral, Rosemary can call Ferdinand by his actual name. She does not need to call him High Priest. She can call him High Priest in the cathedral, but outside, not necessary. And then, of course, she's like, oh, the blood thing from the last season, she's like, oh, it's not blood, it's basically mana. So she calls Magic Tool, and I don't remember if the light novel did explain what the heck this thing is, but the anime shows it as a magic wand. Yep, it's a wand. And then she gets some mana, and Volix to the problem. and she keeps basically her bodyguard from when she was mine, and she gets another one named Bridget. And then we're introduced to Sylvester's kids. Yes, his kids. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, basically Wilfred, Bridget, obviously. I think we're introduced to two of basically Sylvester's kids this episode. I believe so. Let's see. I know it. Wilfred and Malika, I think it is, and I think like one of the daughters. So then, of course, basically, oh, this is boring. Let's go out and play. He does not know what happens next. So he's pulling her along, and then Rosamund collapses, and there's some blood. Yes, this is from the book. So he apparently has no idea about her fragile body. He has no idea. And of course, also after the ceremony, because little mana, we do see Karstad carrying her afterwards, because basically her body's very frail, despite like having lots of mana, and I do mean a lot of it. So, yeah, standard fare when it comes to this one. I'm looking forward to the remaining couple episodes. Now in the book itself, now based upon what I've seen from the description of the titles, for the next couple episodes, which are, if I can find them here we go, Lower City Family, which I'm very much looking forward to the episode, because there's mention of Lutz in the episode. Of course, he's not up here, because he's not in the material they adapted for this episode. And then, of course, starting out, which airs in 2 weeks, which was released probably just today, Archduke's Castle and the Italian Restaurant. Very much looking forward to this one, because the Italian restaurant thing, that's been building since season 2 of the show. There's also mentioned about the printing industry, which continued that from the previous season. I like the fact we built on a lot of stuff we established already for the show. And I'm glad the fact the show doesn't forget stuff, despite switching studios. I'm glad they don't forget anything. Thank you for that. Excuse me, I think that, oh, maybe they might forget something. Nope, they did not. I'm glad characters not forgotten. Great job with this episode. Wits did a great job. And this is the same studio who did Attack on Titan. And when I heard they were the ones going to be doing this, I think, I remember quickly, I believe Wit Studio did they did the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, because I believe the main series was done by Mappa. Yes, because I think Wit is owned by Mappa, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to look it up on here. Let's see. Here we go. Yep, with Studio. They're the ones who did this one. And I know that the studio is known for making Attack on Titan. I believe, if I remember correctly, they did the first... Yep, they did Attack on Titan, and of course the first 3 seasons, and also they do Spy X Family. That's another anime, basically, that I've seen that they worked on. So, here's the ones I've seen so far. They worked on, I personally have seen. Attack on Titan, Sarah for the End. They just did the first season show. Really good. Do not know why we haven't got season 2 yet. Spy X Family. And this show. Yeah, surprisingly only 3. Which is kind of something. And if you're curious though, is this the first series based on a light novel that they worked on? Yes. Because if you ever seen their catalog of shows they worked on, mostly put a lot of the shows they work on are based upon manga. Not in the case, apparently one show they did work on, which was Vinland Saga. They did the first season show, but another season afterwards, it was kind of the same thing with another show, the Agent Magus Bride, where that was taken away from them. Not sure why. Yeah. But how long do I think that this season can last for? I'm not sure, per se. Yeah, I don't really know. Because there is 5 books to adapt. Do I think they can 12 episodes? No. I highly doubt that. I have not heard a confirmed episode count for this one. How much do I think the season should get? Because this was confirmed to be adapting this arc. I am going to take a stab at this. I'm guessing about 24 episodes. That's my guess. But we have no confirmed episode count for that one. Yeah, none. But otherwise, though, great episode. Okay, so that's pretty much that particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, notifications. Next up we have is a Comic Corner, and then it's on to Welcome to Demon School Irma-kun. Okay, next video. Bye.